Sorry, there's no.
I mean, you said.
Okay. So the point I was making was earlier that you have misconceptions about Islam, or you have a very narrow, selective view on Islam. You choose to look on Islam.
What is my narrow selective view? I don't know what you're talking
because
about.
I mean, for example, I asked you this question: that do you know about the history of Islamic civilization and how it was one of the best things that happened to humanity.
Sure, but can I ask you something? Is the history
it was one of the most merciful.
Is the history of Islamic civilizations in the Quran or the Hadith?
It is the manifestation of the Quran. I'm saying it is the manifestation.
Because if you're Muslim, right? This is how I feel. Like if the Quran was written by God, right, and the Hadith are inspired by God,
yes,
you shouldn't really rely on any other text, right? Because that should cover everything, right? So I don't think you should.
Yes, primarily that's true. Yes.
So I don't like. I feel like it's a little bit like weird that you're using history books written by regular men. Why don't you use the most powerful books in existence?
That's very good.
Right?
Good point.
Thank you.
Now, the reason why I mention history is we have texts, like you mentioned, the Quran and the Hadith.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, those are your only texts.
The question, the basic question is, how are these texts applied? And when they were applied, what result did they produce? Is the question. So what was the outcome? What was the outcome of these teachings? So that's the civilization.
I understand.
The Islamic civilization is the outcome of the teachings of the Quran, because you cannot separate the two. You can't separate the tree from the fruit.
Sure. So, brother, can I just tell you where I'm coming from? Right? Because I'm not like anti-Islam, right? I just want to believe true things for the right reasons.
Right.
For the right reasons.
Okay.
So I would be happy to be wrong about something if I had the right reasons.
Okay, great.
Right.
This is why I don't believe you're an apostate. You simply don't have information.
Well, I did though, because I'm certainly not an expert. Right? Look, I don't like the word scholar because I don't really understand.
I believe if you knew what I know, you would be sitting here and I would be sitting somewhere else. Not there. I wouldn't be sitting there.
So it's just a lack of knowledge.
Yes. Most ex-Muslims were never Muslim in the first place. I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why.
Have you heard of the no true Scotsman fallacy? Because you're about to commit it right now.
No, I'm not committing. I'm not committing it. Let me explain.
Okay.
When I say a Muslim is someone who has firm knowledge of Islam, who understands what Islam stands for, what Islam has done historically.
You're defining what makes a Muslim.
Yes, absolutely. A Muslim is not someone who was born in a Muslim family and just grew up with some Muslims and then is a Muslim and then he decides and the father. That
doesn't make any sense what you're saying, really. And I'll tell you why.
I'll tell you.
Let me explain. Let me break it down.
Yeah.
If someone's not a Muslim, say I'm not a Muslim right now, okay, and I wanted to become a Muslim in 5 minutes. Right? If I just sitting here, I could become a Muslim with no actions. All I have to do is my belief. If I accept that Allah is the one and only God, Muhammad was his messenger, the Quran is perfect, right? And I'll throw in, maybe I got to say the Shahada. But really, I don't. If I believe those 3 things, I'm a Muslim. If I don't believe any of those 3 things, I'm not a Muslim.
Yes, you're right.
That's simple. So you're talking about all this history and religion. You got to go through this and that. And
no. But what you have to understand is, if someone says I'm a Muslim because I'm a Muslim because of these things, you are technically within the fold of Islam. Yes, technically. But do you have enough knowledge to leave or completely embrace Islam, the rest of Islam? Do you have enough knowledge?
I don't need to, right?
So for a Muslim, you have to be patient, you have to study, you have to understand what Islam. Of course you do.
Why? I mean, I just told you the criteria.
A Muslim is as good as a neuroscientist. Okay. Would you get operated on?
Why you don't believe God?
Why? No.
This classifies a neuroscientist until you've got the relevant education.
Exactly.
What you're saying is the benchmark to be Muslim is this 3 things, which is quite a low benchmark.
Yeah,
and most Muslims are born into. Then simply by definition and nothing else, if you just know those 3 things and you decide that's not true anymore, then you are an ex-Muslim who was a Muslim.
Okay.
So saying that most ex-Muslims were not Muslim in the first place is false.
It's a no true Scotsman fallacy. Yeah, look it up. Google it.
Just understand that this inequitable allocation.
I'll tell you why I believe that. This belief is based upon my experience.
Let me just finish the point.
No. I'm telling you, most ex-Muslims I've met are completely ignorant about Islam and Muslims.
Most Muslims as well.
This is such an inequitable thing you do, because what they do is when we leave Islam, they're like, oh, do you speak Arabic? Oh, do you know the 6 blah blah blah? Do you know the 5 blah blah blah? Can you recite?
Valid questions. Valid question. When you reject something, you reject it. You reject it by knowledge, right? By knowing it.
Let me finish my point. Finish my point. So when we say actually no, I don't know the six facets and I don't know the 5 pillars or whatever.
Sure.
When we say that, you say, "Oh, see, you were never a Muslim in the first place." However, when somebody is a Muslim in Indonesia, when somebody is a Muslim in Pakistan, when somebody is a Muslim in India, they don't speak or read Arabic. Most of them don't understand their prayers.
This is huge.
You still categorize. You say, "Oh, there's 5.6 billion Muslims in the world." So we're all Muslims.
We call them ignorant Muslims. We call them, they are Muslims.
You call them ignorant.
No, all Muslims.
Okay. Do you call them ignorant?
Yes, we call them they are ignorant.
Who's we?
That's true.
We can all agree, just based on what we
So how about talking to someone who has studied Islam for the best part of his life? How about that? Sorry?
What makes you think we haven't?
Let's talk about it. I will ask basic questions about...
Because you haven't studied Christianity for the whole of your life for you to say...
I have studied Christianity
but not the whole of
reasonably well.
I haven't studied flat earth theory for the whole of my life.
I don't believe in it.
And for me to say I reject
somebody was a bad Muslim before they become ex-Muslim, but you cannot say somebody was never a Muslim.
I will ask you simple questions about Islam. Okay, and I'm sure you do not have enough knowledge to judge Islam to be either good or bad. You don't have the knowledge. I know that. Let's talk about it. You want to see? Do you want a demonstration?
Wait. We're shifting goalposts.
No, but let's do a demonstration. Let's do a demonstration of that.
Concede this point. So we're shifting the goalposts.
I'm saying you don't have enough knowledge to either judge Islam to be either good or bad.
None. But we were Muslim. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, okay, but you were okay. Okay, let me explain something.
Dispel this myth.
A lot of Muslims around the world.
Because Christians say that a lot.
Wait.
They were never with
a lot of Muslims around the world, for example, India and Pakistan, or Egypt, or Morocco, they think they are Muslims, and they are doing things that take them out of Islam.
Yes.
Wait. Let me explain. They think they are Muslims.
You don't get to define their Islam for them.
No, I don't. But no, I'm doing it because some things are clearly defined in Islam. You can't break them. You can't cross those boundaries.
There is different interpretations to all of them.
No. Islam. No, wait. Okay. When it comes to interpretation, the boundaries are defined. The scope is defined. You cannot cross the boundaries of those interpretations. The Quran. You can't say one verse of the Quran actually claims that there are blue monkeys in existence on a planet called Jojo, right? We can't claim that on the part of the Quran. Why? Because that's going out of the scope. The Quranic scope is defined. The scope of the interpretation of the Quran is clearly defined. We cannot interpret the Quran in a wild way, in a new way that wasn't done before. We have a scholarly tradition that defines the Quran and interprets it clearly. So if someone comes up with a new interpretation...
Yes, let's set a benchmark. What do you think, how much research do you think somebody has to do before they leave Islam?
There you go.
Okay.
And apply the same benchmark on to somebody who wants to come into Islam. They need to do that much research to come into Islam.
Firstly, the first point is, when you start researching Islam, put your presumptions...
Adnan, thank you for your intellectual honesty.
What's happening? Don't worry about it. It's a daily thing.
That's very idealistic approach to not be biased, because we all are inherently biased.
Stop it!
You know how we're saying that Muslims get violent?
Actual punches being thrown. Get up just in case you need to move fast. Come on. Calm down. But this doesn't mean Islam is... No, it doesn't.
How are you? Oh, sorry. How are you? Okay. Good to see you.
Yasser says hi, by the way.
Sorry?
Yasser, he says hi, by the way.
Yasser, which Yasser?
Old guy Cypriot.
Oh, yes. Say hi to him. Say hi to him.
I will do.
Yes. Say hi to him.
He told me knew you. He was seeing pictures, videos of you and everything.
Oh, yes. A lot of people watch our videos. Yeah.
Lovely old fella.
Yes. Yeah, I knew him like 20 years ago.
I really enjoyed it. I appreciate it.
No problem. We can continue if you want. And don't worry about the fight. Just sit down and we'll continue.
To be honest, I got to get home soon anyways.
Okay. So
I do appreciate you talking respectfully.
Yeah, no, because
and your intellectual consistency as well.
Yes.
Listen, this is how, if you speak to, the problem is, I'm not saying I'm a learned Muslim, I'm a scholar of Islam, I'm not saying that, I'm only a student, right?
Yeah.
But when you do sit with people who have studied Islam thoroughly, they will answer your questions. They will justify, they will, no, of course, no problem. You have the right to reject anything you want to reject, no problem. The question is, why are you rejecting those answers? Is it because
I feel like they're logically inconsistent, and they're based
if you have already decided on the part of those answers that they would be logically inconsistent, then nothing can help you. No one can help you on the planet. But if you come with an open mind, with a blank mind to learn, you will learn.
I think sometimes people don't understand that ex-Muslims have been having these conversations for a very long time.
Exactly.
You guys seem to think that we just woke up on a Tuesday and then we thought, you know what, enough with Islam, this shit is boring. I don't care if I'm going to lose my family. I don't care if like everyone's going to disown me. Like,
bring me the most learned ex-Muslim you have in your ranks. Bring him to me. We'll talk. And you will see. You will see.
Can I tell you what happens with me?
Bring the most learned. No. I'm not saying this is for a fight or for a debate or just to prove the point that ex-Muslims, unfortunately, are either not ex-Muslim, number one.
No, you took that all back. You took it. You can't go back on the point. You admitted that all of us were Muslim because we believed in those three things. We're not maybe as educated as some people. Maybe
you were ignorant. You were ignorant.
Right.
You judged Islam.
We're as ignorant as most Muslims.
Yes,
if we were ignorant,
is it possible that there's other ignorant Muslims around here?
And ignorant people can often make mistakes.
Yeah, and so you can be Muslim and ignorant.
Sorry?
You can be Muslim and ignorant too.
I'm a Muslim, and I claim to know my faith relatively well. Okay, I have studied it in depth. Okay, I have reasons to believe in Islam. I wouldn't like to die without being a Muslim. I wouldn't like to, because I have firm conviction in Islam. Not because of my ignorance, because of what I know of Islam.
Can you be a Muslim?
Wait. What would be an acceptable reason for an individual to leave Islam? What would be an acceptable reason for someone?
Can I talk to them? Please.
What would be an acceptable reason for a Muslim person to leave Islam? Because I feel like what your position is that there's no valid reason for anybody to leave Islam, which then means that no matter what person you're not going to allow yourself to see
the reasons I've come across so far are...
No, that's not my question. My question is, what would be an acceptable and valid reason
when Islam is not true? Absolutely, leave Islam. If Islam is not true, if God doesn't exist... Wait.
Is it possible?
I'm answering your question. If God doesn't exist, if Islam is false, if Muhammad was an imposter, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if Islam does not produce good results, it causes disasters, violence, intolerance, misogyny, all the accusations against Islam. If Islam is responsible for all those things, leave Islam. I'm telling you, leave. Leave. It's evil. Islam in that case is evil. In that case, Islam is evil. But I am standing here today and I'm challenging you on every single one of those points, and I will show you how you have heavy misconceptions about Islam. And that's why I'm Muslim. If Islam is evil, do you think I want to be Muslim? Do you think I want to be Muslim?
We're not saying it's evil.
But your position is...
I'm saying leave Islam. Leave Islam if it's evil, if it's not true, if God doesn't exist, leave Islam.
All I care about is true, evil or not.
And if Islam is true, then be prepared for that day.
Yeah, because brother, if Islam...
Be prepared for that day.
I'll tell you what though, if Islam was evil and true, that's fine. I don't care about the evil or good.
If it's true,
just true.
If Islam is true, and if God exists, if Prophet Muhammad was a true prophet of God, then await the day when everyone will be judged.
Pretty much everyone here is in trouble because we all
be ready for that.
Everyone here prayed 5 times a day. Anyone miss one?
No.
Does anyone miss one today?
No. That's not a threat. That's not a threat. I'm saying this is what I believe in. Okay. And it's open. You have your own intellect.
No.
Right.
We were curious about the wife beating verse.
Okay.
About that.
Why are you curious about that?
We were having a conversation earlier.
Right. So what do you want to know?
Like, I don't think it's acceptable to ever hit your wife.
Okay.
And I'm wondering how it is deemed as acceptable.
Okay. So what do you understand?
Even if it is.
So what do you understand from the verse?
I'm here to just listen and learn, really.
This is okay.
For your knowledge.
So is that one of the reasons why you reject Islam?
Yes.
Okay. If that reason is completely removed.
Not the only one of them.
One of them. Okay. So how about this? How about this? If I was to claim that you rejected Islam for whatever reason, and now you're looking for excuses to strengthen that rejection, is that a reasonable thing?
No. I didn't even want to talk about the verse. Someone brought up the verse.
No. I'm open. You see, I may be one of the most open-minded persons.
You said is true. We're probably biased.
Yeah.
For sure.
Okay. So you have a bias.
Yeah.
And in order to support.
Everyone has a bias.
Okay. In order to support that bias, you will hang on maybe straws, or you will clutch.
No, I'm open to my bias being.
I like to think we're intellectually
My position has shifted on something.
Okay, let's be intellectually honest. What do you understand from Islam on that particular issue?
If I didn't have a bias that was willing to shift, I'd still be Muslim. I think actually the shifting of my position from Islam to an ex-Muslim shows my ability to challenge my bias and be open to other interpretations.
Okay.
Yes.
So, can you just tell? I don't understand why we're getting into all of this, because the gentleman was saying to me, it does, not him, another of those men was saying, it does make sense because it just means hitting her with a.
Yeah. Soon we'll leave. Okay. No. Let's continue. Okay, pack this up.
Are you paying for dinner?
I'm not. I'm paying for my dinner. Yeah, I'm paying for my dinner. Yeah.
No, I got my dog.
Okay, so the point we were discussing was, if we were to have an intellectual discussion on all these topics, and if I was to give you a clear explanation whereby it makes sense why there are certain rules in Islam because of the philosophy we follow. The philosophy comes from the Quran. It comes from the Quran. Okay? And if I was to tell you that it is utterly haram, forbidden in Islam, right?
Can we help with anything?
I'm going to roll out.
Thank you.
I really
nice
appreciate
talking to you. No worries. No, you're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. Nice talking to you. We'll talk again. Thank you. So, okay. Yeah, almost.
Oh, you still talking?
We can have the conversation at dinner.
Okay. Well.